This audio recording is intended to facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program where 12 U.S. military personnel went to the planet Serpo, which was in the Zeta Reticuli star system between the years 1965 and 1978. The following information was sent to Victor Martinez from someone claiming to represent a British intelligence MI6 source and was published by him on the 24th of August. This did not come from the same source as did the previous release, number 19. The original anonymous who provided releases 1 through 11 and also number 19 wrote the following short message to Victor after he had been consulted about it. What's new in this? Someone just took information from the other postings we did together and made this up. I don't see anything new. I doubt this came from British intelligence. I think someone just fabricated this. I should also mention to you that we have 2 members on your list who monitor it for relevant Serpo-related information, which is then forwarded to me and my group. Victor Martinez has requested that if the information below is proved to be bogus, it will be removed from this site. The information that Victor Martinez received. Unknown became involved with Project Crystal Night in the summer of 1958. Unknown was assigned to Holloman Air Force Base when he was briefed into a program that involved communication with an extraterrestrial race. Unknown had known about Roswell as part of an earlier briefing in 1952. Although Unknown never had any contact with EBE-1, he did see photographs and a film showing the creature with its handler. This would be the same film shown to others who were briefed into the program. During the summer of 1958, Unknown was called to Sandia Base, Kirkland Air Force Base, for a top-secret meeting. There were command officials present. General Charles Cabell, U.S. Air Force, was in charge of a group that would eventually control Project Crystal Night. Moderator's note: General Charles Cabell was the brother of Earl Cabell, who was the mayor of Dallas at the time of the JFK assassination. See further notes at the end of posting number 20. Other members in the group were Phil Howell, George Simler, Miles Doyle, Bob Hall, Curtis Frisbee, Harry Robb, Earl Butts, Richard Hamaski, and Jack Thomas. All were members of U.S. Air Force, and most were in Air Force security groups, Air Force intelligence back then. A presentation was given on an extraordinarily planned event involving contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence located on another planet. The project called for several levels. First, establishing a series of communication relay stations around the world that would receive signals from this ET civilization and relay it to a central location. Sandia Base, Kirkland Air Force Base, had recently, in the late 1950s, established space dishes. These are unknown words that could gather signals from outer space. The group was also told that a sophisticated communication system was found on the alien spacecraft recovered near Roswell, and this communication system was actively in contact with this ET civilization. The 2044th Communication Squadron Air Force was responsible for interrupting the communication system, along with personnel from U.S. Army Communications Service and a selected number of civilians from Los Alamos National Laboratory. The live alien who was captured near Roswell provided the technical information to function properly operate the communication system. 3 members of the 2044th were trained in the technical means to work the ET system. The system was complicated and required a special power system that was found inside the crashed alien spacecraft, the Alien Energy Device, the Crystal Rectangle, or the PVEED-1. Once the 2044th technician learned the system, the communication was ready to function. However, the biggest problem was understanding the language of the aliens. The communication system worked on the alien language, which only 1 or 2 U.S. Air Force officers who worked with the aliens knew. But the complication was that the communication system worked on a written alien language, which the Air Force officers did not know. From 1952 until 1958, language specialists, both U.S. Army and Air Force, worked on translating the written language. However, without some sort of linguistic base, that was very difficult. The live alien provided the alien alphabet, but the alien did not possess enough sufficient English language skills to translate the alphabet from his language to English. He did manage to crudely provide some basic comparison between the two languages, but not enough to allow us to fully understand their language. Apparently, the communication system was functioning because the 2044th were receiving signals on the communication system. However, no one could translate them. The signals came through on a screen similar to a very small television monitor, but they came through in an alien language. All we could do was copy the signals of the alien language and hope to translate it someday. Unknown thought that someone, probably back during the time when the alien was living, had done some type of testing on the communication system because two people knew something about it and how it functioned. They also knew some key symbols from the alien language. Finally, after some effort by several smart people, we were able to translate the language, but only about 70% of each message. That gave us enough information to understand what the aliens were sending. The aliens wanted to return to Earth and pick up their comrades, alive and deceased. Our mission was to plan the event and provide all of the necessary logistics to pull this off. Somewhere along the way, one of the Air Force communication specialists decided to send an English message to the aliens. Now, this would be difficult since the alien communication system did not have English letters, but our Air Force ingenuity came into play. Utilizing a newly created classified military communication system, TAC-STAR, we were able to somehow, never understood how, wire in the keyboard of a TAC-STAR. This would enable us to type English letters into the alien communication system. It took some time and effort, but it worked. We sent messages in English along with our alphabet and numbering system. Our numbering system was similar to that of the aliens, and although our numerical designations were different, we were able to use lines to indicate the corresponding number. After several exchanges of messages, the aliens got it before we got theirs. It was obvious to us that we were dealing with a highly advanced civilization. From about June 1960 on, we began receiving messages in English from the aliens. They did not send complete sentences, but they sent enough for us to understand the meaning of the message. From that point on, we grasped their numbering system pretty quickly and used their numbering system since we did not wish to provide them with wrong, incorrect landing coordinates. We eventually provided them with the latitude and longitude coordinates. We also provided them with the military coordinate system used by our pilots back in the early days. Sometime in 1962, we figured out how to send photographs in message form. Don't ask me how they did this. Unknown wasn't technical enough to know this, but we sent them black and white photographs of Earth and landing locations. This was another difficult decision to make. We had to have a remote location which would not give way to any adverse public knowledge. There were literally hundreds of locations selected and analyzed. Most of the locations first selected were remote islands, but there were logistical problems with those locations. We would have to sail ships to these remote locations, and that just might give us away. We had to choose a location that would not be suspicious, but still remote. The group decided on a location west of Holloman Air Force Base near Alamogordo, New Mexico. They actually decided on two locations. One was a fake location on Holloman, and the actual landing location was at White Sands. Sometime in late 1962, we all met again, this time at a very secure underground facility at Los Alamos. We got the real startling news. Our government planned to exchange a U.S. military team with the aliens. Unknown doesn't remember all of the details, but he remembers that a lot of key officials in the meeting thought that was a wrong, bad idea. The reasoning behind the skepticism was this. We knew virtually nothing of this alien race except what one surviving alien told us, EBE-1. How could we trust sending a team of people to another planet? We knew very little about the planet except it was about 38.42 light years away. How long would the trip last, and how could our team prepare for such a trip? These were questions all members asked. But the powers that be, mainly General Cabal, said all of that had been worked out. How? Maybe we established better communication with the aliens. It's doubtful that most of the members knew it all. A lot was compartmented, and not everyone knew everything. Unknown surmised that maybe the aliens landed prior to the scheduled 1964 date and possibly exchanged information, but he never had any official knowledge of this. The next big problem was selecting a team. Bob Hall, the commander of a spaceflight training squadron, was in charge of this. We also had CIA people and some people from the newly created DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, see footnotes, on board. It took months of deciding on just how to do that. Finally, a plan was in place to sheep dip all the team members. The advertisements which was sent out asked anyone interested in volunteering for a space program apply. It was a semi-classified announcement. The disguise was that the U.S. Air Force was selecting a special team to travel to the moon, and these people must undergo special training and a special selection process. None of the military people trying out for this team knew the real mission. About 500 people applied, and that narrowed down to about 160. But there was a problem. Some specialists required on this mission were missing. Besides, the requirement called for each team member to be single, never married, no children, and if possible, orphans. The U.S. Air Force had to go out and recruit 2 doctors and several other specialists. Finally, after several months of the selection process, 16 team members were selected, 12 who would go and 4 alternates. Once the team was selected, they underwent about 6 months of extensive training at various locations around the world. Their identities were removed from all agencies, including the IRS, Social Security Administration, military, and hometown records. They became no-name people. Each was given a 3-digit number. They utilized this number from the first day of training until after the mission was completed 13 years later. Another very cautious thing each team member had to do was that they signed an agreement. Remember, they didn't know the mission at this point, that if any dropped out of the mission for whatever reason, they would agree to be confined until the entire mission was complete. This meant that any team member, including the 4 alternates, would have to be confined for the duration of the mission. At this point, the exact length of the mission was unknown. Most of the training was done at Camp Perry, Virginia. The exact mission of the team was not disclosed until during the final phase of the training. Each selectee went through the most difficult and demanding training in the world. Most of it was similar to astronaut training. A lot of physiological stress training, high altitude training, and also parachute training at Fort Bragg. Each member went through weapons and combat training and the possibility of capture by going through survival, evasion, and escape training. Since we had a captured alien spacecraft, every single team member was trained on how it functioned and how to fly it, just in case they had to escape in one. Team member and pilot number 225 would have flown any escape from Serpo. Number 308 died of a pulmonary embolism. They also learned the basic alien language, alphabet, and phrases. This was difficult since the aliens spoke a tonal dialect, basically like singing in a high-pitched voice. Most had extreme difficulty learning this, but the 2 linguists on the team learned it quickly, team members number 420 and number 475. During the training, one member decided he could not go on such a dangerous mission. After learning that he would be confined at Leavenworth until the duration of the mission, the man decided to go on the mission. The landing date was set for April 24, 1964. The entire group assembled at White Sands under cover. We posed as inspectors for a no-notice inspection of Holloman. There was a mistake by the first alien craft entering the area. It apparently got the landing coordinates wrong and landed near Socorro, the Lonnie Zamora incident. The second craft landed at the correct location. There were members of the Johnson administration along with a special group. The aliens exchanged some gifts, see posting number 19, and we were able to communicate with them through a translator wand given to us by the aliens. The meeting lasted about 4 hours. It was decided that the exchange would not occur until the following year. Our team members were presented and ready to go, but the aliens decided to wait until the next year. The date was set for July 1965. Unknown was present during this meeting, but was in the background. Everything said and done during this meeting was recorded on audio tape and film. The delay presented a problem for our team members. What do we do with them for the next 15 months? The team members went back into training for about 12 months. The last few months were spent locked up at the U.S. military prison penitentiary, Fort Leavenworth. We had to decide on another location for the exchange. During the April '64 meeting, we did not supply a pickup location. We informed our alien visitors that a location would be selected and they would be informed through the communication system. We finally decided on a remote location at the Nevada test site. Since we had hundreds of people employed at that location, we could move almost anything into that area without anyone becoming suspicious. We had a good counterintelligence program in place that would mask the landing and provide plausible stories about the buildup at NTS. To mask any possible strange sightings in the area, we increased the number of U-2 and SR-71 flights in the immediate area. We even increased our low-level flights, just to give the people, the few who did live in the area, enough to see that once the alien craft arrived, they would not think any different. On July 16, 1965, the aliens landed at exactly the precise location at NTS. It was a low-level meeting. Only a few members of the Johnson administration were present. The group was present and the exchange took place without any problems. We had equipment in place for the team, approximately 40 tons. The aliens had no problem carrying all of this on the two crafts that landed. It was later learned that the two crafts that landed were only shuttle crafts. The larger craft was located somewhere between our moon and Mars. Our team later told us during the debriefing in '78 that the alien craft was enormous. We maintained contact with our team members by use of the alien communication system during the space trip, which lasted about 10 months. Once they landed, we continued contact, but only on an irregular time schedule. The team members returned in August 1978 at the exact location. 8 members returned. 2 died on the planet and their bodies were returned. 2 others decided to remain on the alien planet. The 8 members were isolated for 1 complete year at a special facility located at Los Alamos. After the 1 year of isolation and debriefing, they were given new identities, a large bonus, and the offer to return to military service or retire. 6 decided to retire and 2 remain on active duty. All 8 are now dead. Unknown does not believe all of the information supplied by your original Anonymous. Anonymous has several discrepancies in the training, selection process, communication sequence, and the females on the team. Unknown does not remember any females going on the mission, although all members were given 3-digit numbers during the training. Most of what Anonymous stated was factual, but there were some discrepancies. Unknown does not wish any special attention to this matter. He is a private person and has never gone public with this or any other information regarding UFOs or the U.S. government's involvement with the investigation of UFOs. Anonymous 2, MI6. General Charles Cabell was fired by President Kennedy along with CIA Director Allen Dulles and Richard Bissell for their involvement in the Bay of Pigs fiasco. Cabell, whose brother Earl Cabell was the mayor of Dallas at the time of the JFK assassination, was head of clandestine operations at CIA for the Bay of Pigs, while Bissell headed up the overall operation. General Cabell, as deputy director of the CIA, was fired by Kennedy on January 31, 1962, while Dulles and Bissell were told that they would be fired in May 1961. Kennedy fired Cabell because he assumed incorrectly that Cabell had leaked classified information from a White House meeting to the press. And that is the end of this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.